Hello, I'm Max, the boyfriend,
I'm Celie, the girlfriend.
and this is a girlfriend's glimpse where I make Celie watch things that she otherwise wouldn't. So today we are going to be talking about the Marvel Disney Plus show Hawkeye. And what did you think of it, Celie?
I loved Hawkeye. Hawkeye is always been such a great Avenger. He's like no, I don't think he's. I was about to say he's the Batman of the Avengers, but that's a bit far.
He's the Green Arrow of the Avengers.
Yes, yeah. I just and archery is just such a cool talent to have, and especially how hard he goes with that.
I mean, realistically, it's just a stupid thing to do because just grab a gun. You'd be much more effective with that. But
Arrows
you're way
look cooler.
Yeah, they're so much cooler with a bow and arrow.
So much cooler.
And he has trick arrows, which, oh my god, I'm so glad they did trick arrows in this show. I cannot believe they did it. They had to do it.
Yeah.
But I loved seeing that.
The one where it was like the Ant-Man tech
That-
one.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it when we talk about episode 3, but I do just want to talk about it because that Ant-Man arrow where Kate, she shot it up, and then Clint shot that arrow with another Pym arrow, which made it grow, and that was probably the coolest trick shot I've ever seen, comics or otherwise. And
How accurate do you have to be to hit an arrow mid-air in motion with another arrow?
He's Hawkeye.
I know. He's awesome.
But I haven't seen that trick shot ever in comics. Like, that's an original thing for the show, which I love to see. Hawkeye is just an amazing shot. I think they only really have him do bow and arrow stuff, but in the comics, he's got like...
Well, no, when he was Ronin, he used a sword.
Yeah, but I mean, I was kind of leading up to not necessarily Bullseye, the Daredevil villain who has perfect aim with everything, but he can use anything and just throw it and have perfect aim with it. That's just kind of something Hawkeye has.
I like the coin flicking.
Yes, they do
That's
have that.
really cool.
And that comes back in the last episode because Kate does that.
Kate mastered it, but she's also like a little prodigy.
Yep, she masters everything, like third try, which is just something her character has, which I was a little worried about being introduced to Kate Bishop in this way, mainly because she's rich, she is a prodigy, she's good at everything, so I figured it was going to be hard for us to like her character.
No, I mean, well, and what's her name? Haley Steinfeld. Haley, I always wanted to say it's something that starts with an F and it's not. But I feel like she does a good job at playing the character that's good at something but relatable enough to make her more likable, you know?
And they play a lot into her naive stupidity, and it's just overconfidence that makes her get through it. Like, they even say that exact word.
I don't know.
Is overconfident.
I would also call it like delusional optimism.
Yeah,
to an extent.
that's fair. But she's definitely bumbling her way through. She's in way over her head. And she realizes that multiple times.
Yeah, but she's also just generally skilled enough to get out of those situations, whereas if any other normal average human being was in that situation, well, first of all, we wouldn't get involved most likely, but we die like instantly.
But I mean, the best way to introduce Kate to the audience is the 2012 Avengers flashback where she's younger. Yeah. And that her seeing Hawkeye is like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. If I saw that, I would probably try to master the bow and arrow just so that I could be half the man that he is.
Well, also, I mean, what are you going to do? Be like, I see Hulk. I'm gonna go inject myself with as many radioactive substances as I can. Or Tony Stark, where you're just like, you know what, fuck that, I can't be on that level. And have the audacity that he has.
Take some drugs, become the Captain America. Hopefully you take the right one. I don't know.
And then, I mean, she could have also taken after Black Widow, but honestly,
that's...
I don't know how she would train for that. She'd have to be a widow.
Yeah.
She'd have to go into that program. She'd have to go into the Red Room.
Neither Hawkeye or Black Widow are really role models, and that's another thing that they cover a lot in this show. But Hawkeye more so, even though they're both killers. I don't know. He's not really a killer in the comics, but I'm convinced in this show, like, he was a black operative. He killed a lot of people, I'm assuming.
Well, especially when he had his alter ego in the blip.
Yeah, he killed a lot of bad people then, but it was still murder.
Well, I mean, can't we consider it a public service? Because, I mean, there's always going to be some, collateral damage when you're trying to save the fate of humanity. But
episode 3, which is, you will probably tell as I go back to it a lot, but it's my favorite episode in this show because it starts out and we see the gray area of murdering bad people because Ronan kills someone and his daughter sees that, and she is gonna have her vengeance, and that's Echo, as we'll probably talk a lot about later. But just the entire gray area in this show, I cannot believe that they did it so well, and then not so well in the ending. We'll talk about it, but the beginning of this show was really, really strong for me. I think that the first couple episodes were really fun. We introduced a lot of different characters, Echo and Kazi. I wish that Kazi was a named villain. Like, I'm not talking about anything like an actual villain that everyone would know, but I'm talking like if he was just a C-list villain. I wish that I had a name to pull up, but I don't know.
Which one was Kazi? Was he the right-hand man to Maya?
Yeah, and then he was the mole too for Kingpin.
Double cross him.
Mm-hmm.
That's rude because she's also reliant on him for a lot of things because of, I mean, she can hold her own. Obviously she could kill a bitch easy,
even though she only has one leg and she's deaf. That one
I
leg,
know.
It's like a superpower. Like, she hits someone with it and they go flying, which I love. But
well, you also want to go, well, you can't blame her. I mean, she lost her dad. She has 2 disabilities at the same time. She's grown up in the crime world.
Yeah, she was raised by the Kingpin.
But she's also basically a Black Widow. She got shot in the shoulder with an arrow and just pulled it out and went, ugh.
Are you kidding
and
me?
walked away. And I would have been like, that would have been down for the count.
I don't know if she's at the level of a Black Widow, because we even saw in that scene that, we'll get to it, but Florence Pugh was kind of handling everyone pretty easily.
I love Florence Pugh's character. I love that she's playing that character and her Russian accent is so convincing, and it just makes her sound cooler,
She has a lot of fun in episode 5 when she's having that conversation with Kate, but when she was introduced, I knew that she was going to be in this show because they teased it at the end of the Black Widow movie, but it still surprised me. Did that surprise you?
Well, I feel like no matter what I watch, something is going to surprise me, even if you go, oh, I knew that, I saw it in these comic books, or something like that.
Well, this was based off of Hawkeye's My Life as a Weapon, which I actually have on my shelf if you want to read it. But
you got me to read Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if you can get me to finish them all.
I've been trying to get you to read the Vision comic, which is based off of WandaVision. WandaVision based that off of Vision. What am I saying?
You were reading it to me for a little bit.
Yeah.
I looked at the pictures. It's all pictures and just bubble dialogue, but
it's Tom King, so it's incredible. What were we talking about? Hawkeye.
Florence Pugh.
The Bro Mafia is really, really good.
Move on.
All the guys who are like, bro, hey, bro. They were just fun to watch. I'm glad they had them in the show. So in episode 3, obviously they introduce a young Maya and we see why she's so hateful of Ronan. And I instantly understand why she wants to kill Ronan. I'm honestly behind it.
But the only thing is, I feel like she knew at least that her family, her dad, everybody she knew was in the crime world, and that no matter what they did, they were always going to be in some level of danger or threat by somebody who's either another crime lord that's angry that they, did something to them, or, get the fuzz on you. But
I mean, yeah,
so
right.
you can't really be surprised that a crime lord got moidled. You just can't.
He was working for the Kingpin, and the Kingpin actually, through a series of events, was the one who caused that all to happen. So if it wasn't Ronan, it would have been someone else.
Right. I think she was... I mean, I understand, her being upset about her father being killed, but I don't know why that would have been surprising given his career choices. And the fact that Kingpin, I mean, there's always going to be some vigilante out there that wants to take him down, and he's going to get there one way or another.
But I mean, he was played by Zahn McClarnon, which, if you haven't seen him in anything, I specifically remember him from Fargo and Westworld, but he's in a bunch and he's amazing. If he was my dad and he was murdered in front of me, I would definitely go after whoever to the ends of the earth.
Is it just me, or but when they did that episode where they flashed back, he looked very sacred. He looked so wise. And then I figured out that he was involved in crime, and I was like, well, I don't know about that one.
I guess he's not so sacred.
Or wise. He may have been wise. He just wanted to support his daughter, and that's one of the best ways, I guess, that he was presented with.
And he couldn't afford deaf school, which is probably why he was turned into crime in the first place.
But she got good at lip reading, and I bet she could have gone to normal school. It definitely would have been a setback for her, but I mean, she got very good at being able to read lips.
And her whole thing is she's almost like Taskmaster in the comics, which
third time's a charm.
I guess I'm gonna keep in all the tries now that you said something.
You're welcome.
But she's like that in the way that she sees something and then she can automatically understand it or almost replicate it, which is really, really interesting. She's just that good at just visualizing.
I was about to say that would be really helpful for music, but
No,
she's deaf.
She can't hear it.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just immediately thought you expose something and you replicate it, and I thought of music, that would be really cool. You could just whatever song, and then I'm like, no. Oh, sorry.
Oopsie. But she is gonna have a show in the next week or so, and that's all gonna drop at once. So We'll probably end up talking about her again in this episode.
She will be back.
She will be back. There is that car chase, which is almost straight out of the comics, where I wish they took the Camaro or sports car or whatever it was, because that's what they did.
They got smashed anyways. Like, you don't smash or whatever, what was it, like a Mustang?
Something. It was
you
something
don't
nice.
smash or Corvette or whatever, and goes to the other one, and then they take the other one and ends up getting destroyed anyway. Should have taken it.
But there is that really, really good one take where it's just circling inside the car. Loved that so much.
Right. The only time that I ever started noticing when one takes came on is when I started dating you and watching movies and stuff, and you'd be like, "Oh man, that was cool." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Why? And you'd be like, "They did it all in one shot, man." And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, didn't even realize."
Most of the time, they didn't actually do that. They just stitch a bunch of shots together to make it look like it. But it looks so cool. It's like 1917, the movie.
Now that I'm aware of those, I notice them now, and I go, "Oh yeah." Oh damn. But
I think after that car chase, then we have that really emotional moment where Hawkeye, or I couldn't remember his name for a second there, Clint was trying to talk to his son, but he couldn't hear him on the phone. And Kate had to step in, and that was like, that almost had me crying the first time I watched it.
You cry a lot with movies, though.
I get invested.
That's okay. I love it. I cry when nobody's looking, and then I go, yeah, I'm stone cold. I don't feel nothing.
I think the last movie that really got me, and I cried maybe 4 times during it, was Guardians 3. God damn, that got me.
That hurt. That one hurt a lot.
That's the kind of cry
especially watching Rocket's backstory and all his friends being murdered when he finally figured out how to get out of the cage.
And I was about to say, you know exactly what's coming.
Or when
you know that they're gonna die. It shouldn't matter.
Or when Lila sees him when he's kind of in limbo and he's almost dead, but not quite dead, and she goes,
"But not yet.
Not yet." Go back, and I was like,
but we're not here to talk about Guardians 3, even though it's a terrific movie. Go watch it if you haven't.
It's great.
Even though we just spoiled a lot of it, still go watch it.
This is full of spoilers. You guys gotta know that by now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We talk a lot of spoilers here. But there's not too much to talk about episode 3, but I keep on going back to it because I don't know if the show ever reaches the same highs with the emotional moments, the amazing action, the trick shot with the giant arrow. Everything was phenomenal, so I was expecting so much after it. And it's not that the rest of the show is bad. I mean, we get Yelena and Kingpin, but I just didn't love it as much as episode 3. You know?
I guess I'm not as particular because, I mean, the rest of it was pretty fun and not super emotionally taxing. But I also like just like fun watches, especially with characters I'm familiar with and it's like a side story or a side quest, or I'm just figuring out more of their story and why they are who they are and where they got to be.
I mean, I would still like to see a season 2 of this show. I mean, I'm a comic book fanboy. I would see a season 2 of any of the Marvel shows. Probably not Secret Invasion, but any of them. I want to see it.
And you complain about it and go, I don't know if this is going to be good. I don't know. They're going to all release it at one time. I don't know. And I'm like, you're going to watch it anyway, so just watch it. And you go, I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to look at 1,000 other things to spoil it for myself and make myself feel worse about it before I see it. And then I'm going to complain to you.
Hawkeye's supersuit is discussed, and he does get one. Honey.
Where is my supersuit? Sorry. I have a lot of references in my brain. I sometimes have to say them out loud.
I mean, that's all that either of us are. We're just movie references in...
I'm also Vine.
Yes.
References.
That's
and
fair.
Old cartoons. I don't know. I can probably recite Shrek beginning to end. No breaks.
Well, I mean, I don't know much, but I can name any comic book character and their like superhero alter ego for some reason.
When we're listening to music, I'm sitting here with the words and lyrics, and you're going, I know the melody, but I don't know the rest of the song. I'm like, you've heard this 1,000 times. It's in your playlist. You showed it to me, and I remembered it.
It's like, well, I don't. I know the tune.
Anyway,
yeah, Hawkeye, he doesn't get the winged eye mask, but he does get a super suit, and it looks kind of cool. I could use a better one in a movie, though.
He's Hawkeye. He doesn't do suits. He only did it because Kate forced him to. And then he realized, I kind of look uniform.
This is actually kind of breathable. I like it.
Well, technically he had a super suit, but it wasn't a super suit when he was Ronin because it was like an identity.
Yeah, and all the Avengers movies, he just had like a tactical uniform, and sometimes it had kind of like a vest or something, and it always had purple in it because his color is purple, but it was never his super suit, you know?
Well, to have a super suit, do you have to be super? Because look at Incredibles. Edna, she designs things specifically, and in She-Hulk, with the designer, they design stuff specifically for the powers that the person possesses. Hawkeye doesn't have powers, he just has incredible skill, and it makes sense for him to wear just tactical outfits to hold his stuff and to wear a tank top so his shoulders aren't locked in place.
It's super because his abilities are basically superhuman. Like, it's because it's a comic book character, but he what he does, no human should ever be able to accomplish.
But it's replicated in Kate at a very young age.
Yeah, but she's also a comic book character that's not real. Also, side note, I had this thought as you were saying it, but if Edna made me a super suit, that was like, if it was, if she came into our universe and made me a super suit and it was bulletproof, would I be able to like go out and fight crime? Because those suits...
Yeah, but it would have to cover your head too, because they'd be smarter than that and go, oh, okay, all right, I'll just aim higher, bitch.
Or would it be like a bulletproof vest where it hurts just as much, but it doesn't kill me? Like, if I'm shot, would it still like break a rib?
You'd still be on the ground, out of breath, going, I can't do... Why didn't I bring a weapon?
I would run into the situation like, I'm Super Max, and then I would get shot once, then I would just scream.
I am Maximus Prime.
Maximus
Here
Prime.
to be your meat shield.
And then I'd run and cry.
It hurts.
Anyway.
Well, you're not a superhero, so you don't get the super suit.
But I want the super suit.
But you have to. With you, you're gonna have to just make the costume for Comic-Con. I'm sorry.
I'll do that anyway.
Oh, I know. We're both going to.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be Nightwing.
If anybody has a suggestion for mine, I'm tossing up between Raven and Jinx from Arcane.
I don't know.
Or others if you figure it out.
But yeah, comment below. Let us know. That's
you guys even comment, even if you don't even care. But
anyway, with Hawkeye, I figured that Kate's mom would be I think it is an Iron Man villain, but Madame Mask, which is kind of like Black Mask, where she just, she's in crime, she wears a mask. I figured that that's who she would be, but she is the kind of villain of this show, other than Kingpin.
It's the same instance with Echo's dad, because, she's not intentionally trying to, like, be a piece of shit or be a villain. Mm-hmm. She's just trying to, protect her kid. She's trying to make the best that she could, because her husband was killed in something that was like unpredictable. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he was in debt to the Kingpin, and that's how she got caught up in it. So I wouldn't call her a villain per se, but I would probably call her, well, I wouldn't even say misguided, because at the end she did the right thing, or in the season, I don't remember what episode, she told Kingpin, she's like, look, I gotta back out. Kate is too important to me, and this is too dangerous. But she was still ready to frame her fiance. So poor Jack. Poor Jack. I not gonna lie, I was like, Jack is gonna turn out to be the bad guy. He's gonna turn out to be a lot smarter than that. And I'm like, nope. Nope. He is literally the exact same. And when he this is your time. When he pulls out that sword and he goes, Jack, this is your time. You were born for this. Okay, that killed me. I was like, okay, he's just a wholesome dude. I hate that fact, because in the comics he's the swordsman, and that's the guy who trains Hawkeye when Hawkeye is an orphan at a carnival, and he's got those carny origins that I'm pretty sure he doesn't have in the movies, but they brought that character in, and I sometimes I wish that he was like an actual villain. He was the mastermind pulling the strings, but I also think it's fun. He's wholesome, and because they want you to think that he's the problem, and then he's the criminal mastermind, but it turns out he's just a really loving, wholesome person. Because that's the narrative. You're supposed to think that he is the mastermind, and then no, he's just an ignorant dude with a sword who wants to, stab some folk. He just wants to be the hero. This is your time. That would be you. That would be me, but I'm not good at anything. He reminded me of Gomez Adams just a little bit. Oh yeah, but he would be a good Gomez Adams. He would. The actor is Tony Dalton. He would be a really good Gomez. He would, but you can't replace the Gomez and I don't remember the year that they were made, but you know the Addams Families I'm talking about, where
who is
Wednesday
that?
Addams was.
It's the guy who plays the villain in Street Fighter the movie.
The guy with the eyeballs, the peepers.
Who is he? Oh, this is gonna kill me.
You have Google right there. Look it up.
It's freaking Raul Julia. How did I forget that? He's shooting lightning in Street Fighter. It's great. Is that even Street Fighter? I don't know.
I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't know.
It's a really bad movie, but it's fun. Anyway, I thought they could have implemented the Kingpin better as soon as they introduced him at the end of the 5th episode, and you see him, and then it's the musical needle drop of Mr. Grinch. Perfect. I was so excited.
You're a mean one.
Mr. Grinch. Is that a snarl or a pig?
Well, okay. That was supposed to be Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Oh.
Dick. No. But...
anyway.
Oh, bigger, bigger, boom.
I figured that in the movies or even just in this TV show, it could have been a good explanation that maybe he got the super soldier serum. That's how he got shot, and he's like pulling car doors off of its handles. But he could also just had a bulletproof vest, and he's always been the sumo.
You know
sumo
who he
level
reminded
strength.
me of? That really, the villain in the first Across the Spider-Verse
Isn't that funny?
He reminds me of him. He's like,
do you know who that is in the first Spider-Verse?
No.
That's the Kingpin.
Oh.
They're the same person.
Oh.
Yeah,
that would be why he reminds me of him. Oh.
You also have not seen the Netflix Daredevil show, which you will. We're doing this podcast now. I'm going to make you. But I mean, minor spoilers. In that show, the Kingpin, which is the same actor, I cut myself a little. She's looking at my hand. It was an accident. Anyway,
who you
in
fighting?
That show, he slams a guy's head in a car door, and it is vicious. And that show is really gory and great.
When he was fighting Kate, and she was trying to stop him, and it was like watching like a little squirrel try to attack a bear. But
that's exactly what it was.
But he was actually being quite gentle with her, even though he was throwing her around. He could have easily just fucking snap. Yeah. Like when he got a hold of her, but he didn't. He chose to not kill her. He chose to not. He just wanted her to get off of him.
Every time that he hit her, he was just swatting her away, which I did appreciate. It gave it some kind of logic as to how she didn't die immediately. But...
yeah, because he could have easily overtaken her physically and just did a Bane and snap you over my knee, like break her back.
The darkness.
Oh God.
Don't get me started with the Bane.
I was stuck in a hole.
I was gonna eat that.
That Bane is great.
That's the best Bane.
That was funny.
If you haven't seen that or get the reference, go watch Harley Quinn, because I just spoiled the reference. Mm-hmm. But Kingpin gets shot in the head, and I really, really hated that. I mean, before then, there's some really cool Arrow action with Clint and
Were you
Kate.
rooting for Kingpin?
I mean, I want to see Kingpin again, which we will, and he's gonna have an eye patch. So I guess
he has to have some of that super soldier serum in his body to survive a point blank.
That's what I was saying before.
Gunshot to the head.
He might. It's a good explanation, because I mean, in the future he might even fight Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can lift a building and crush Kingpin with that building. So
Mr. Stark, I feel so good.
Spider-Man is so ridiculously strong. He needs to be able to.
I know, but he's your
some
friendly
kind of...
neighborhood Spider-Man.
He could pinch your head in between his thumb and index finger.
I thought you were going to say thighs.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, damn.
I mean, he could do that too, but...
Dial it back, Max. This is
PG-13. Okay?
Mm-hmm. I've seen how watermelons get crushed like that. I don't know if you want that.
Anyway, what would you give this show, Hawkeye? I mean, I was about to say the rating, but is there anything else to talk about with this show?
I mean, I guess the only thing I would put more mention to is Clint's family. Yes. And the fact that his wife is so nonchalant and cool about him being far away and fighting and doing all that stuff that he was doing to help a total stranger that he didn't know.
And I think...
Or the LARPing thing.
That was really cool, all the LARPing. But I mean, the Clint's family is kind of in the background, and I wish they were more front and center, even though they can't be.
Well, they were in a sense that they were driving Clint's, all
of his
reason
decisions,
to get it over with.
They were about them. But...
And constantly calling his wife, so bringing them back in, updating.
And his wife was revealed to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And then I think one of the producers or writers said that she might be, or confirmed that she is Mockingbird, which is a vigilante in the comics.
Sorry, that's Mockingjay.
The vigilante might also be named Mockingjay. I don't know. I could be wrong. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the show, which we won't
that
watch.
reference had nothing to do with this.
Yes. Neither of our references, because it's not really important. But out of 5 brownie points, what would you give this show?
I would give it 4. Just because, I mean, it wasn't... I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I like Hawkeye. I like Kate's character. I like the fact that Natasha's sister came back and cameoed for a little bit and was a part of the story. But it wasn't something that was like as sensational as like Loki or something like that, but it was fun and I enjoyed it.
I think we've also seen Miss Marvel, and I would put this above Miss Marvel and some of the other Disney Plus shows. Maybe not What If, definitely not Loki, but this is definitely a good one. I really like Hawkeye.
Yeah, me too. And I have a bow so I can be Hawkeye.
Yes, you got a bow recently, so I gotta watch out because you're gonna probably shoot me.
I don't even have arrows. Okay,
you'll find a way to contract one. But yeah, with that, this has been a girlfriend's glimpse into Hawkeye.